I talked Rod Lee into letting us distribute his album outside of Baltimore City, outside of West Baltimore even. It was that localized. I mean, you can't do anything in Baltimore Club and not have a bunch of people complaining. And then it's like, it's very, I mean, that's like my first taste of like internet beef. While you're doing that, you're getting, you know, people's demos and people's stuff in. So we would kind of, it was like a good way to scout for bands. So I just started calling the 10th anniversary of Baltimore Club, which made everyone really mad too. They're like, what are you talking about, Miss Tony? I'm like, I know, I'm just kidding. When they started really touring, like had like bigger tours, I started tour managing for Death Set. They played like over 250 shows in like 1 year. That club was cool in a way because we had movable walls. So we could like increase the capacity for certain rooms and kind of shift it.
Hey there, it's me, Roxy Cottontail. You might know me as a DJ, artist, designer, and New York City party promoter, or from my bunny logo. I'm putting all that on the table and writing about the years that transformed music and the New York City scene. I've interviewed 250 friends and colleagues I admire. I ask all and reveal all. Please join me and the Tales to rediscover the 90s and the Y2K magical landscape of music, art, technology, and streetwear. This is Roxy's Tales.
I'm Emily Rabbit, Emily Gordon now, but yeah, I'm Emily Rabbit.
My guest this week on Roxy's Tales is Emily Rabbit, a true cornerstone of the Baltimore underground. Since the mid-2000s, Emily has helped shape the pulse of independent music culture from Baltimore and beyond. Her contributions and platforms have pushed the region's most influential voices forward. From Rod Lee to the Death Set, Spank Rock to the Metro. For Baltimore, she's united community, impacted music, and changed culture in profound ways. Her impact reaches far beyond any single scene or city. Without further ado, Emily Rabbit.
You remember where we met?
Maybe in Philly, actually.
Yeah.
New York, somewhere around with like Naeem and Alex and
And so how did you meet Naeem and Alex?
Alex, we were roommates in that apartment that in Clinton Hill that he lived in forever and recorded everything. I forget what they called it now, like the recording studio, but he did like, you know, like he did crazy albums there, like the Rapture album and stuff. So I moved there after I got out of graduated from college, and I was dating a friend of theirs, like of Chris Devlin and Alex's, and we lived together like just for a few years there. And then I moved back here and got the job at the record label Morphius in Baltimore. Yeah. So and then Alex and I were just friends, and I had met Naeem through that. You know, we were just like friends in Baltimore and stuff.
Were you always involved in music in some capacity, or?
I mean, was doing film stuff when I was in college because that's what I thought I wanted to do that. I hated working on film sets.
Why?
It was so like misogynistic and like just the worst kind of just men that were just really short with you and just didn't want to have anything to do with you, or wanted to overload you with like heavy stuff to carry and then laugh. You know what I mean? Like it was so boring. Like the hours were just, I was like, this is insane. You know, I don't know. My temperament was a little faster than a film set.
And so how did you then link up with the Death Set?
I was already working at the label, and I was, had been there a couple years, and I was talking with the owner about forming my own imprint and kind of just having something that was more my interest specifically. And I got really excited about that. And then I was looking for the, first band to sign. And at first I wanted to put out this album as this group called the Dagger Hearts that were in Baltimore.
I remember the name.
They kind of ended up breaking up, and it was like, one of those things like and then I had a friend that I grew up with in Annapolis that had been living in Sydney, Australia. And I was talking to him on the phone one day, and I was like, what's that racket? And he's like, oh, my neighbors are in this band. And I was like, oh, this sounds horrible. Like, who are those girls? He's like, they're actually dudes. And he's like, no, yeah, I'll send you some of their stuff. I'll record some and send it to you. And I was like, oh, this is perfect for my imprint. And he was like, okay, well, cool, because they want to move to the US and they need someone to sponsor them and like adopt them basically. So they both moved in with me, and we made the album like in the house. And my next door neighbor, who I still work with at Metro, he still does our sound, mixed it in his studio next door to my house, like on this whole block. And like, yeah. So it was very homegrown. I think the first photo I have of Johnny and I is like has your watermark on it.
Really?
Yeah, literally.
Wow.
It's like me, Johnny, and Bo. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
That's-
like the first night I met Johnny. And that's my friend Dan who introduced me to the desk set. And I grew up with him. And he has a letterpress shop in Brooklyn that's still really going really strong. And he like did all the Spank Rock cassette tapes. We like hand letterpress the tape cases like at his place.
You know, the Death Set, like they toured Australia together.
That's where the desk set kind of formed. This is paraphrase from Bo's telling me the story, but Bo and John, I mean, it was very different. Like Joe, I forgot the name. Oh, it was called Black Panda. And that was like Bo's project.
Mhm.
I don't recall if Johnny was involved in it at that stage, but he had opened for Japanther as Black Panda and kind of, I think was really like informed by that. You know, Australia, they'll just rip you off when they see you. And because they're like, no one will ever come back here. So he's like, I'm making my own Japanther. So that was Japanther like filtered through Bo into like, you know, because they had Deset had those microphones, the telephone microphones.
Oh, really?
I threw them away because they were like, wouldn't work, sounded like shit. And we're like, no one wanted to deal with them. Like no sound person was like,
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I guess like someone stole them or they got left at the club. And they're like, oh no. I'm like, yeah, I'm just like tossed them out. That's
Wow, I didn't realize that was like that was such an inspiration.
well, not that many bands still, you know, as you know, like it's really hard to tour to Australia. So not that many, especially small bands like that don't go to Australia just because it's not feasible. So when people do come, I think it makes a huge impact.
Okay, so then Morpheus,
Mhm.
what was your position there?
I mean, I started off just like as an assistant, and they kind of were like a middleman for pressing, because I think it's still the case actually. You couldn't just like go to a pressing plant and get your album pressed because they didn't have like a staff to deal with that, right?
Mhm.
So they had all these little companies, like there was like CD Baby and like a couple others that were kind of the intake for people that wanted to press vinyl. While you're doing that, you're getting, you know, people's demos and people's stuff in. So we would kind of, it was like a good way to scout for bands. And then we'd be like, hey, like we really like what you're doing. Are you interested in a distribution deal? And David, the guy that owned the company, he really was on point about digital distribution. Like, you know, he was doing it like before Orchard, which was one of the first people I know that was doing it in a major way. Because even like iTunes wouldn't give you that like ISDM code for songs, but you had to get like someone else to handle it because they didn't have like, you know, they didn't have a department for that. So you had to come in like prepared to be distributed on a digital platform. So I was doing all that exciting stuff, but I was like sifting through all the, you know, the stuff we were pressing and kind of like picking out stuff that I thought would be cool to distribute.
What else did you put out?
Some of the stuff I'm really proud of. We did a lot of stuff for this label called Cuneiform, and they're RER in the UK. And like the Homosexuals album was like an anthology album that was awesome. That I worked really hard on, and along with people on my label, to put that out with like a huge booklet. And we did a couple like art bearers pressings, which is like kind of an art rock stuff like that.
You were managing Rod, right?
You can't manage Rod Lee. I don't.
Or you were helping to book him. I don't know what you want to call it.
When I was like stopped working at the label, like Rod and I were still like intertwined because I was basically just kind of trying to get him bookings to promote the record that we had put out with him. We had been doing his like CDR pressings, and they like Baltimore Club music. We would just sell it. Like Sean Caesar would sell that downtown locker room, or people just, you know, they had like kids that would sell it out of the trunks of cars, and you know, it was very organic. It couldn't be more like localized, you know?
Yeah, I feel like Techniques was probably the only one that had like a real record store.
Yeah, I mean, he owned a record store, but it was still like, if you were bought a vinyl of Bmore Club, it was still just like a test pressing that you were buying. It was never, so I mean, that's one of my things I'm proud of in my career, that I talked Rod Lee into letting us distribute his album outside of Baltimore City, outside of West Baltimore even. It was that localized. Yeah. He was like, well, how much am I going to get back per CD? And I like told him, he's like, that's so stupid. Why would I do that? This is how much I make back. I was like, I'm looking at your numbers and they're really good. I was like, I can't, no one gets that return in this whole industry. Like no one, you know what I mean? But I was like, the only thing I could say is you know, your music will be associated with you, hopefully, instead of someone else playing your music, which was like a kind of a rare thing at that time, right?
Yeah. Now every DJ on every festival lineup or whatever is playing their own shit.
You know, I was like, yeah, people will be like, this is a Rod Lee track. This isn't a who, I don't want to say like, you know, but like a Diplo track or like whoever that's playing, you know, because that's how people, that's how they experience it. That's how they'll know it. You know what I mean? So, and that really sold him. I was like, do you want like some weird white guy to like get credit for your music? And he was like, fuck no. And that's like that, I sold that at that meeting. I mean, it was a learning curve for me because I'm definitely stepping into a world that I don't know shit about, you know?
But I was like really proud of you for like taking this legend and like giving them a platform and a place that like they really like needed to be. And like, just like standing up for shit that you love. And I feel like I've respected you for that since I met you.
Thank you. I feel like if that would be a good kind of boilerplate for my career, I'd like that. I'll quote you on that. Standing up for what I love. That's all you can do though, right? And I feel the same way about you. I was really thinking about women like because we're a similar age, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're pretty similar. We grew up in suburban Maryland. We ended up with all these crazy people, a lot of the same ones, you know what I mean? But like we did with totally different ways. But it was like, I don't know if you remember, but like women just a little bit older than us with like very few exceptions were kind of like mean to women coming up. And I felt like our kind of era of women were pretty nice to each other. And we all got along and everyone was kind of rooting, you know what I mean? Like there was a subset of us all just rooting for each other. Like I've talked to Vivian about it in the past when, you know, because I still want to book all the same women like I've known for 25 years, you know what I mean? Because like they're a pleasure to work with and a pleasure to like reminisce with. But it's like, I don't know, I feel lucky in a way that we were kind of we were like, you know, especially like digital stuff was coming, you know, internet was way more important to like what we were doing.
Were you on any message boards besides?
I was on the holler board.
I know that one.
I was always driving someone somewhere, like to a show. Like I didn't have a lot of like, you know what I mean? You guys in New York, like you don't have to drive these fuckers. Like, I mean, that was like my experience. Bradley, I just remember him like I'd have to like borrow my mom's SUV because like my car was too small. And I mean, all his records, and he was like uncomfortable in my car, so we weren't allowed to take my car. So I'd have to like go to Prince George's County, like get my mom's car, like leave it there, come back, like drive Rod Lee to Philly to play with Aaron LaCrate, and he wouldn't want to play, and then I'd have to drive home, like bring my mom's car back. It was like,
oh my God.
I mean, I spent a lot of time driving.
This was 05.
This is not the one but there's a one that the one I'm just thinking of. But that's the one that this is the one that Rod played in New York first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said a Philly one.
But this was after that. But it's like Amanda played with Sweatheart. I don't think I played, but like it was Rod walked out, like threw his records box at me, like
what?
Well, because Aaron fucking played Dance My Pain Away, like right before Rod was supposed to go on. And he was like, and it was like after midnight, he was just like uncomfortable. Like he's like a big dude and he gets like uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like he was in these little college chairs. It wasn't like a cozy club. It was like a rec room. And then after he leaves and Bo like explained to me the whole problem. He's like, it's your job to protect your artist. When he was playing that track, you should have like made a deal about it and gone up and like said something. And I just was like, I'm loading in this stuff. And he's like, we need to be paying attention more. And it was like, I was mad at Bo for telling me that. But 2 days later, I was like, called Rod and I was like, hey, I understand what I did wrong. And I was like, he was like, I'm sorry too.
But at the end of the day, Aaron LaCrate is one of the worst people ever.
Yeah, and then like, no shocker. That's not a shocking chapter of this book. That he ends, Aaron LaCrate's a fucking dickhead. Yeah, but I don't think I'm in the minority saying that. But.
No, I talked to Scotty already. I mean, he didn't say that. He said he has no beef with anybody. He like really wouldn't talk shit, but I know that he wants to.
I mean, Scotty I think when he gets upset, it's like him just defending what he believes in more than like trash talking. I've never really heard him trash talk.
No.
Yeah, he's like the Ted Lasso of Bmore Club, basically. Right? But I don't know. Yeah, he's a good, but like a lot of those guys I know most of the Bmore Club like people and I know the younger people, and I know there's like a lot of I mean, you can't do anything in Baltimore Club and not have a bunch of people complaining. And then it's like, it's very, I mean, that's like my first taste of like internet beef was like, that album came out in July, not in June. Like, get your facts straight. You're like, fuck you. You know, I'm gonna get like, and that's, you know, like everyone needs those.
I love it. So how did the Boiler Room come about? I'm supposed to talk to
Vivian.
Vivian. Yeah, I know Vivian, but
I mean, Vivian did everything for it.
yeah,
But that was such a magical night and like for everyone.
it was.
Like, Rod was in such a good mood. He was like telling all these great stories. Like Samir's always nice, but yeah, like this is like I looked around and I was like, I know like every single person in this corner and they're all old as shit.
What year was this?
It was the 10th anniversary of when Samir's theme came out.
Oh, wow.
So I just started calling the 10th anniversary of Bmore Club, which made everyone really mad too. They're like, what are you talking about, Miss Tony? I'm like, I know, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Vivian put that all together. I mean, I wish I had Vivian had been my roommate too with Jess back in the day, because that's a good, I mean, I knew who she was like just from, you know, being the magazine editor and stuff. And I was always impressed with her, but she's one of those people that's like women. I was like, she's not like older than me. She's like 2 years older than us. Right. Yeah. But yeah,
she was Accelerator, right?
Yeah, she was like the editor-in-chief of Accelerator. Like when she must have been like 22, right?
Yeah.
It was a while before I met her.
What else were you booking? Like were you doing events in Baltimore too?
Yeah, I mean, this was more like when I was doing these things, booking was kind of just, I was doing it like I was trying to be like a publicist without really understanding what that was. So I had these like weird like PR clients. At that time, that was more like, because you could like get a label to pay you, and there was actually organized PR, and like I was like mailing physical copies to, you know, publications and stuff. So I worked with this band called Ponytail. That was a Baltimore-based band that were like so magical. I had a friend. It was my roommate with Alex and I. He had a label called Run Rock, and he was like, and my friend, it was like this guy DJ, and he's in like Juan McClain now, and like that was doing all their label releases. And then I had this cool client named Skiz Fernando, who like, he just wrote that, he has a new book that just came out about Wu-Tang. That's like pretty big release. And he had a rapper named Sensational on his label, and it's like and he was like, did put out Prince Paul's first album. And he was a weird like Harvard dude. He's still cool. He wrote the was it for Spin Baltimore Club article. That was kind of like, and he would like write for Wax Poetics and stuff. So it's very like almost thesis kind of writings for like, you know, historical music history and stuff. And then with that set, I had to put out their record, and then they went to Ninja Tune. And then when they started really touring, like had like bigger tours, I started tour managing for that set. And then that kind of just took up a lot of my time, and I did it.
Is that all North America or everywhere?
And yeah, in Europe, we did a bunch of UK too. I didn't do all of it, but there was a couple years Johnny and I were just talking that they played like over 250 shows in like 1 year. Like, damn. And then I started working for Spank Rock like full time, and that would have been, God, it was a while ago. I think it might have been like 2010 or 11, because I worked for him solidly for 8 years.
Were you tour managing?
Yeah, I was tour managing, but I was like worked for him, like did all of his like, because he had his label. And I mean, that was like midway through it. I'm trying to think, but I would like, and basically like any email he got, you know what I mean? I was like his assistant basically, and then tour managing. And then he didn't have a booking agent, so I was booking him for a long time.
Wow.
I didn't have a problem booking people at that point, because I had been a talent buyer for a club for so long that it was like I was good at it because I had done the other end. So I was like, I could look at their capacity, know what the offer should be, and I would never over ask though, because I'm like, why should a club go out of business? Because I still think that I'm like, these asks are so stupid. Like, yeah, we can't, that doesn't break even at sellout. Like, what do you guys want from a business?
What were you booking prior to that?
I was booking Sonar.
Oh, you were?
I booked and the guy I still work with, who's a talent buyer for a big club here called Soundstage, which is like 1,500 room, and he's just booked like he books like the Roots at the Broadway theater here and stuff. But he's still like the same guy that I mean, everyone I worked with like 10 years ago in Baltimore, we're still doing the same job. And Sonar had 3 rooms, so it was almost like 3 different clubs. And we would have.
I remember I played like the lounge, right?
I mean, you probably played the club room too. It just depends on what you were playing. But the lounge like moved around kind of because we would split up. That club was cool in a way because we had movable walls. So we could like increase the capacity for certain rooms and kind of shift it. But yeah, so at any given time we could have 3 totally different performances going on.
Cullen's timeline of events was like so accurate.
Whatever Cullen says, I meant to tell you, whatever Cullen says the date was, I'll testify, yes. Like I agree.
I couldn't believe it. Like,
yeah, that's his personality, is to remember everything like very well. Oh, one more thing I want to like fan out about. I remember when you and Ian had the thing. Was it an Architectural Digest?
yes,
I remember that. I was like, oh, Roxy's room is so fucking cool. I was so jealous.
it was Riley. Riley and I painted that
Riley.
together.
Okay, sorry. I thought
No.
Ian, yeah.
But like that painting got fucking stolen.
Because that was you lived in that little India spot for like 10 years.
Yeah.
I know anytime someone says something, I'm like, she was an Architectural Digest. Like, that's amazing. I was like, name one other person. Name one other promoter that had an article on Architectural
That's true.
Digest.
It was really for the painting that Matt and I did, but
I know, but
yeah. That is true. I never even like
Kelly Wursler of the Electro Clash blog house world.
Thank you, Emily.
Nice to talk to you. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Thanks for hopping by. That's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and stalk. Bounce, little kitty.